Hey y'all, Fred here. Thanks so much for joining me today. We are going to take a look at the Civivi Baklash. This knife's been out for a while, been around. A good friend of mine, John Emerson, friend of the channel, also goes by the name on here, TheTriFyre, F-Y-R-E. You'll see him down in the comments, has sent me a nice little collection of some of his favorite EDC knives for me to do some reviews on. And actually also even donated, very kind of him, a clone knife, a big, beefy, overbuilt boy. We're going to do a review on this, but this is going to be coming up in our giveaway. We got our 2,500 subscriber giveaway coming up here soon, and John was kind enough to donate that to the channel. Y'all should say thank you to him down in the comments. And also, John's really struggling right now, man. He's laid up with some back problems. I think a lot of us have dealt with that. I certainly have. So, you know, if y'all are up to it, send him some good vibes, because I know John could use a little bit of love and encouragement right now. He's having a real tough time with some back issues he's got. Anyhow, thanks to John for sending these in for us to review. Again, if you are not subscribed already, you do have to be a subscriber in order to win that. We're going to have not just that knife, but probably a half a dozen nice knives, some pretty decent options this time around. You know, they're all affordable, under $100, but some brand new knives that we've reviewed lately on the channel. But you do have to be a subscriber. You don't have to sit and watch me talk for 2 hours on a video in order to win. At the end, I do real simple drawings. Just I post a video, here are the knives, takes 5 minutes to show you what knives are up for grabs, and all you got to do is comment. And if you're a subscriber and you comment, I'm going to do a random drawing of all those people who make a comment on that video. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be coming up here, I would expect, within the next couple of weeks. You know, YouTube is kind of weird. You go for like a few weeks and it feels like you're not getting any subscribers, and then all of a sudden it jumps by 200. I don't know how it quite works like that, but it is what it is. It does what it does. So when we hit 2,500, we're going to give away some pretty cool knives if you're a subscriber. So make sure you do that if you're not already subscribed. All right, let's talk about this Baklash. This is in 9CR18. This is actually, like I said, quite a few years old now. I think this was first introduced back in 2018. That puts it at about 6 years old. That's 2 years before the Cencut line was even introduced by Civivi. If you don't know, Cencut is the kind of more affordable budget line for Civivi. Civivi's kind of right there in that middle spot, and then they have 𝗬𝗏 which are their luxury, you know, fancy, expensive knives. So this came in under the Civivi brand because it was before the Cencut line. This probably would have been launched in Cencut because it is in 9CR18. Still going strong, man. There are multiple versions of this knife still available on Amazon. I'll put a link down below if you want to go check it out. There's some pretty cool features to it. I always like to take a look. I didn't see the box. John just sent me a bunch of the pouches, but here, look at that. It's just like all Civivi pouches from the beginning of time, it feels like. So we know for at least 6 years now, Civivi has been using these same green microfiber towels, which are very nice, by the way. I use those quite a bit. Same old stickers in the good old Civivi 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗵 sticker that's probably been around for, God, I don't know, 10 years now. Y'all can let me know down in the comments. It's probably not been that long, but it feels like that long. Anyhow, standard fare for what you get there in the pouch. Let's do some size comps. These are always tough to, you know, get a sense of size on these things when you're just looking at a video. That's why we always do the size comps right in between the PM2 and the Para3. But certainly much more in terms of actual cutting length than either of them, actually. No, it's probably comparable to the PM2 in terms of cutting length. That would be a fair statement. Here is one of the old Cencuts, very similar. This is the Cencut Serene in D2. I did a review on this on the channel as well if you're interested in seeing that. Or the Pyrite Light. You can see it still has more of a blade cutting length than the Pyrite Light. So fits right in between those two in terms of size. One final set. Always like to do the Civivi Vision FG and more recent popular version, the Vosteed Raccoon. Again, pretty much in between both of these knives. I know that's a little deceiving. It's actually a little bit longer than the Civivi Vision. You just have to get them all in the right order. The camera angle's at a little bit of an angle that tends to throw you off a little bit. So there you go. Hopefully that helps give you size. Let's pull the specs up real quick. We'll do the rundown on it. Just a little over 8 inches, 8.1 inches. The blade is reported to be 3.5 inches, but because you get this nice forward finger choil, you get about 3.25 inches, which is still pretty good on the actual cutting length of the blade. Closed, it is 4.6 inches long. Fits well in the hands. Got a 120 thousandths on the blade thickness. That's on the fairly thin and slicey side. Certainly very suitable for a lot of the uses you will use this for. Thin and slicey. Handle thickness comes in right at a 1/2 inch, 0.51 if you want to be exact. We've got kind of this holographic carbon fiber. It's that carbon fiber overlay, almost like a peel ply, that but you can't peel it off. It's not like you could really dig in that and peel it off. Over G10 is what you've got here on terms of the scales. It is a black stonewash blade. This is a hollow ground blade, which is interesting for something in their budget line to have a nice hollow ground blade. Down at the very bottom, you'll see I did measure behind the edge on this because it's hollow ground. Behind the edge came out at 13 thousandths. That is a very thin and slicey blade. As I mentioned, carbon fiber over G10. This is 9CR18. I think I mentioned that. They reported as 58 to 60 HRC, which is right in the middle of where you want this to be for a 9CR18. The weight comes in under 4 ounces, 3.88. Certainly very friendly. It is a liner lock knife. We'll take a closer look at all the mechanics of this thing here in just a little bit. The price in these ranges right now, believe it or not, the carbon fiber version is on sale if you get it anywhere near the time of the recording of this video, down to about $39. Otherwise, they have several different variations around the $42 mark. All right, let's take a closer look. This is what you would call a more aggressive tactical style of knife. Not particularly my style. You may have noticed I don't have a whole lot of these, but it is a nice knife. Got a little extra oil on there. I did lube it up for my friend John. Got in there and did a little cleanup and lubrication on this thing, so sorry about the oil dripping out there. Tactical, black, more aggressive looking style of knife. Pretty cool. Carbon fibers, not bad. You know, this is typical stuff. A lot of people do that. Flush mounted steel liners. The steel liners are milled out. Let's see if I can get that in some light for you. It's kind of hard. Let's try getting it in some light with that. Well, you have to take my word for it. There you go. You can see up at the top, those are milled out. It's also milled out just like that at the bottom. Helps a little bit with the weight reduction on these things. Everything painted black to match. So at least they did a good job with that. Nice and consistent all the way through. Pocket clip. This is going to be their even older style. So let me see. I had a Civivi here. This Civivi Serene is a little more new. It's still, you can see almost Loch Ness Monsters a little bit, but not nearly as bad as this one does right here. And it's pretty squared off. So you can see a little bit of how they have evolved over the years. Quite interesting. But again, it's old style. Definitely will get in easy over the pocket. It's perfect, about the perfect amount of tension there. But this is going to be a snag magnet, you know, and you got to be careful. Don't rub up against any car doors near your pant pocket because that will definitely take a little paint off. So it is what it is. You're probably going to feel that. It is, however, reversible. They are not countersunk. You may have noticed that, but they do use flat screws, so that keeps it pretty low profile. No real issues. I think unless you just have really thick pants, you know, maybe some of those really double hem Carhartt styles might be an issue there. Otherwise, you know, it is what it is. Typical Civivi older style pocket clip does a good job. It is deep carry. It is reversible. You could replace it with something else if you wanted to. Hardware perspective. So everything is a T8. They've done a really good job. So, I mean, even going back 6 years ago, they were doing T8 body and T8 pivot, captive pivot, T6 on the pocket screws, or, yeah, the pocket clip screws, of course. It is their typical, you know, standard captive pocket pivot. Sorry, can't get my words out here. Stop pin is also standard fare up here at the top. There's a little bit of blade shouldering. You can see it wraps around right there. That also is the same pin that stops it using the back of the flipper tab. What that means is that there is nothing interfering anywhere with the blade down here in the sharpening choil that would prevent you or cause any problems with sharpening. And because they've given us a very generous finger choil down here and done it very well, it's going to be hard to see. Let me see if I can put some light. Boy, black knife is just hard to show up. What I'm trying to show you is how thin it is even in this finger choil, which means excellent. Going to be able to sharpen this thing a lot without having to worry about developing a smile or getting it uneven. So well done on all of that. All right. This is a flipper-only deployment. You may have noticed there's no thumb studs or other ways to deploy it. There's nothing to grip on the blade. So it is pure flipper tab. Some people that's good. Some people that's no good. The jimping on it is good. It's this stands out a little bit more proud than maybe some of their others. Well, this one's totally rounded off. I thought I had another one. Here's another comparable one on the pulse wave. You can see this one's even a little bit lower profile, so they tend to vary. Easy in terms of light switch if you're a light switch guy, but it also works really well for push button method. So no matter which your preference, it works great. The detent is also pretty good. I mean, it's dialed in really well for this flipper only kind of mechanism here. So pretty hard to fail. I found that to be pretty good. The liner lock itself is pretty stiff. Can be a little bit pokey. Whoop, sorry about that. Let me cycle that back through. Apologize. Pretty good lockup. You've got probably 25%, 25, 30% on that blade tang. So really good positioning there. There's easy access. You can see it is cut away a little bit so that the lock bar stands out a little proud of the liner, so it's easy enough to get to, easy enough to flip out of the way, sits in a good spot, very solid lockup. There is, Civivi's known for getting their lockups right, so no blade whack issues. There's no blade movement here. There's no pivot lash here, in or out, up or down. There's no detent lash, all solid. Really well made. I mean, fit and finish on these are pretty good. It's about what you would expect from Civivi. The blade, as we said, is a 9CR18 drop point style. It's got a really nice thumb spoon with really perfect jimping. I mean, in terms of jimping, this is not incredibly deep, but it is sharp enough where, not sharp that it's going to cut you, but grippy. I mean, very grippy and choked back here. So I'm a size large glove to give you a sense of the size. Plenty of space for even large, extra large hands. But back here, man, with that jimping on that thumb spoon, fantastic in terms of ergonomics. But then you've got this great forward finger choil, which is still all day long right there. You're going to split your fingers between that flipper tab. That doesn't bother me in the least. Still makes me feel like I'm locked up. I would be cutting cardboard like this for days and feel very good about it. And with a 14 thousandths behind the edge, you'll make short work of it. So very well done in terms of all of those features. It's going to be relatively thin tip on the thin side, so, a little more delicate. You want to be careful. 9CR18 actually has better edge retention. I don't know if I already mentioned this. Better edge retention than 14C28N or Nitro V. Most people don't know that. Now, that's assuming it's all done well. That's Lerrin Thomas Knife Steel Nerds. That's their ratings on this steel. What it's not is tougher than those. The toughness on this is, a little on the lower side, but it's the same toughness as a D2 steel. So you've got the toughness of D2. You've got the edge retention better than Nitro V or 14C, but not as good as D2. And you've got really high corrosion resistance. Of course, it's a coated blade, so that makes it even more corrosion resistant. So not a real problem. And then they say the HRC 58 to 60 is right there in that good range for 9CR. Should do well. I mean, all the way around. It's got a good finger choil, good sharpening choil. The bearings are ceramic open face style bearings. It's a little rougher. It feels almost dry. And as you can see, I took this thing apart and oiled it. That's why there's oil coming out of it. I just did a little maintenance on this knife before the video. So it is oiled. It just feels a little drier. I don't want to use the word gritty because it doesn't feel gritty. It just feels dry. It feels like you're running on dry bearings, just not as smooth and easy free swinging as some of their newer models. And I think it's just a function of this being basically a 6-year-old knife. So not the best action in the world, but certainly easy to flip out. And as you can see, it's not going to drop shut, but I mean, one small flip and you are home. So it is close enough to drop shut that, you're not going to notice any difference. For what you're using this for, fantastic, no issues there. No branding anywhere on the knife, on the blade at least. You can see they use their C on the pivot pin. It does say 9CR18 down here in and amongst that oil on the blade there. Blade centering, dead on. Came dead centered out of there, and even after taking it apart and tuning it up, still dead centered. Gotta love that. Sharpness, again, that is a very thin, slicey, hollow ground blade. I'm gonna call that easy a 10 out of 10 on the redneck sharpening scale. So fantastic. Kudos for that. Ergonomically, this is a pretty neutral shape. It's a common design. You've seen this in a whole bunch of whole bunch of different knives. It's not really copying anybody, but it's a very neutral, normal, typical shape. Fits very good in the hand. You could even certainly use this on reverse cuts. Definitely you can get in here to do some pinch grips. It's got a, the tip is going to be about at the center line, so you do have to get up a little bit higher for those draw cuts. But as I mentioned, this is all day long butter right here. If you're cutting cardboard and you like this grip, man, I think you could rip through a day's worth of cardboard pretty easy with this knife. Fits well in the hand overall. No issues with that. The carbon fiber part can be a little slick, but I'll tell you that G10, you can see it's a little lightly textured. Feels very good in the hand. You've got a little bit of jimping there that can help hold on. Pocket clip is going to be pokey, as we talked about. That's where, in terms of negatives, let's talk. The pocket clip, is probably the worst thing that I can find. As I mentioned, the action's a little dry feeling on there. I think maybe a set of skiffs, if this was a knife that you really wanted to carry and use all the time, set of skiffs in this thing and it would be gold. 9CR18 is a steel, like I said, that a lot of people will kind of look down on. But I've already told you all the reasons why this is a really great user, daily carry kind of knife, and you know that Civivi does them right. So overall, while I am not much of a black tactical knife type collector, this is a really good knife for what it is. So when I got this knife, where did it go? Oh, I think I put it away, darn it. When I got this knife, he also sent it to me with a Sencut 𝗖𝗶𝘃𝗶𝗃, and looking at them side by side, the 𝗖𝗶𝘃𝗶𝗃 has a pistol grip style. It just melts in your hand, and I thought, well, I'd much rather have that. But I'll tell you what, after using it and holding this for a little while, this is actually a really good knife. I mean, especially if you're into like black tactical knives, you want a nice thin slicey blade with a hollow grind, excellent forward finger choil and jimping, still a good functional 3¼ inch long blade. I mean, if this is your jam, this is a pretty good knife, and I guess that explains why this knife is still selling strong even today, 6 years later after it was introduced. Not crazy about the pocket clip, but man, other than that, it's a pretty good knife for what it is. So you just got to understand what it is. A good medium-duty work knife, certainly, a tactical, kind of cool, defensive, more aggressive knife, nice hollow grind. I mean, if that's your jam and that's what you're looking for, this is a good knife. I certainly can recommend it based on all of that. I will put a link down below you, or if you want to go check these out on Amazon, that is an affiliate link. It certainly helps the channel if you use those. No problem if not. But I do appreciate that. Otherwise, again, got a drawing coming up soon. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe down below. If you like this kind of content, throw me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you'd like to see me do something different, I always watch and read and try to reply to everybody who talks in the comments. I really enjoy that part. That was something I didn't know about when you start a channel. You don't know how cool it is when you have, your regular group of guys that are always chatting you up in the comments, and they're setting me straight on things. Certainly, y'all know as much or more about knives than I do, and I learn a lot from y'all, and I really appreciate that. So anyhow, thanks so much for that. Throw me a thumbs up if this is okay. Otherwise, we'll talk to you in the comments. Y'all have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.